Obviously, there's some orange there in Cleveland after a historic demolition of the Cavaliers by the New York Knicks. We have never, in NBA history, seen an 11-game run like one the New York Knicks are on right now. So start spreading the news and partying like it's 1999.
For the first time in 27 years, the New York Knicks are going to the NBA Finals.
When you get this far, you just ask, who's next? Then you run into someone who wants it as much. And realize that it's difficult not just to get a ring, but to even get there.
We knew that our team was capable of doing this. So all we had to do was just put the work in, continue to believe in each other, continue to sacrifice, and that's what we did, and that's why we're here right now with this trophy.
The dream season continues.
The New York Knicks are your Eastern Conference champions, and the Knicks are on their way to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Here's where things stand. They now await their opponents, the Thunder, the Spurs. They're all tied up in the West at 1 game apiece as we welcome you one more time from Cleveland to NBA Today. I'm with the Burgundy Bros here.
Excuse me, Malika, this is Merlot.
This is Merlot. Well, there was not a whole lot of wine and gold that we saw last night. Brian Windhurst, Danny Green.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Cabernet over there. That's the Hall of Famer, Mr. Spears. I'm Malika Andrews. And frankly, guys, I think over the last couple of days, as the conference finals have gotten underway, there's been this discussion that maybe the championship was really being played out in the Western Conference Series. But after, Brian, what we saw from these New York Knicks, I'm not so sure that's the case.
Look, I understand that the East is the weaker conference, okay? I understand that all these people out there are saying, well, when the Knicks go play the real teams in the next round, that they're going to be brought back to earth. And maybe that is to a certain extent true. But let me tell you something. This team winning by this many points, this many games in a row is unprecedented. This is an excellent team. This is a great team. Yes, they absolutely can win 4 more games. They will be the underdogs. How much of an underdog will they be? Well, let's see who's standing upright when they get to the finals next week and who that is. And they will, the Western Conference champ will be favored. But you do not win 11 games in a row by 260 some odd points without having a chance to win the championship. The way they're playing together, they're going to be healthy, they're going to be rested, they're going to have a great home court advantage. Absolutely, the Knicks could be on the verge of doing their first something they haven't done in almost 60 years.
And you know what? The city is going to be on fire if that's something that happens. Danny, what was your biggest takeaway from watching last night's Game 4?
I mean, just the ball movement. Like, I've seen the beautiful game happen in San Antonio. I've seen it happen in Golden State. But the New York Knicks are actually playing together. They're moving the ball. They have depth. Their bench is playing. They're sharing. They're getting active defensively and, on a string. So, odd transition. Even when they don't get stops. Cat's getting the ball. He's involved in offense, not just starting the half court, but in the full court. He's pushing the break. Josh Harden gets it. Push the break. OG Anunoby. Strong finish at the rim. Dunking everybody after a hamstring injury. Still looking fresh and young. And you got, ball movement here. Jalen Brunson involved in action. Little swing, get off the ball quick. Juice kicks, driving kick, basketball. Look, that's hard to guard because they don't know what they're doing. How do you guard something when the team doesn't know what they're doing offensively? They're moving the ball, finding each other. Jalen Brunson knocking down shots. Mikal Bridges, Deuce McBride, Shamet only missed one. They're hitting shots at a high clip because they're getting uncontested shots because of the ball movement. So it's beautiful to see. And like Wendy said, I don't know. Those teams out west are really good, and I love my Spurs. But the way they're playing right now, I think they could be champions this year.
A shout out to Mike Brown, right? I mean, Wendy knows he was with him. He used to be in this place in 2008, took the team to the finals. Obviously, things didn't go that well against your old Spurs. And then from there, it was a rocky head coaching road, going to replace Phil Jackson, losing that job, going to Sacramento. Actually got fired again by the Cavaliers, got fired twice by the Cavs, goes to Sacramento, turns them around, light the beam, and then they let him go on the way to the airport. Very, very embarrassing. And I know Mike, he works, and this, so diligently to prepare. And when the job got open with the Knicks, he studied film, he studied the team, and he showed them that he was prepared for this job that he ultimately got. And that's very, very hard to fill Tibbs' shoes, to do that. And he not only did that, but he took them to the finals for the first time since '99. And you guys know this in the first round, and Wendy, you probably heard some stuff like this. When the Knicks were down 2-1, there were rumblings about Mike. Could Mike be in trouble? And ultimately, they figured it out and went on a long run, and he's the toast of the town. And I can only imagine it's like a Disney movie if he could get them to win a championship for the first time since '73.
For those that don't know Mike, he's very well prepared. He's an OCD kind of guy. He used to come in film sessions and fix the TV right direction. And one time we surprised him for his birthday. It threw him out of his rhythm so much he canceled practice. Like, he's such an in-rhythm guy.
He's really big on ironing. He likes to iron his shirts before the games. And I will say, you know, Dan Gilbert from the Cavs has fired Mike Brown 2 times. Okay? You don't think Mike...
He did it in his house.
You don't think... not on the way to the airport. You don't think that he enjoyed... being able to beat them.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, going down memory lane, I was going down memory lane a little bit last night, Malika.
So was the entire New York Knicks fan base.
He had to go way down memory lane. A little less for me. As I was watching Landry Shamet literally hit everything, he was 11 of 12. I haven't seen a guy this hot in the playoff series since that gentleman right there, Danny Green.
Okay.
2000, what was it, 2014?
13 was the outcome.
2013 finals.
Yeah.
This guy could not miss. I remember, what'd you go, like 11 of 13 or something like that?
I hit a good couple early on. I got hot early.
Man, speak your truth, man.
Yeah, it was good. I was so locked into the series.
Speak your truth.
And when I was watching Landry this series, I was like, he's having a historic run. He's looking like just Steph Curry, like myself, and like those type of moments. Game 6 Clay, like we've seen certain shooters get hot.
Right.
Shamet had a series that he only missed 1 3-pointer from the perimeter.
11 of 12.
Series. That's
He
incredible.
was 1 of 4 on 2s and 11 of 12 on 3s.
Incredible.
And you're just seeing right now a New York Knicks team that is entirely and totally together and on a string. The stats back it up. We haven't really seen dominance like we have seen here from the New York Knicks. There is reason here for Knicks fans to be excited. So let's go behind those numbers a little bit here. They haven't just won 11 straight games, as Brian mentioned. They've done it in dominant fashion. They've outscored their opponents by 262 during that win streak. That's the best scoring differential over an 11-game span in NBA history. That's regular season and playoffs. And the Knicks, they've been at their best in closeout games. They became the first team with 3 series-clinching wins by at least 30 points within a single postseason in NBA history. And this series, it's not even really been close, right? The Knicks, they went on that huge run at the end of Game 1. And since then, they became the first team in NBA history to win all 4 games in the round before the finals by double digits. So they've really been cruising here in these conference finals. As for their next opponent, the Knicks, let's just take a look at how they did in the regular season here against both the Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Knicks, they won 2 of 3 against the Spurs. That does include the regular season. And also remember, we saw these 2 teams in the in-season tournament title game. They won that one by over 11 points. They did, though, like many teams around the league, they lost both games to OKC, and they scored just 100 points per game, the second fewest against any opponent. But who is going to be healthy for OKC if they do make it past the Knicks? Well, that is a question for our Shams Charania. So Shams, we know that AJ Mitchell has already been ruled out for this all-important Game 5 tonight. What do we know about Jalen Williams here?
Malika, the Oklahoma City Thunder are continuing to evaluate Jalen Williams on a day-by-day basis, but the reality of the situation is the Thunder have now listed Jalen Williams as questionable with not just hamstring soreness, but a hamstring strain. That's the second strain to the same hamstring in just under a 1-month span. And so these injuries are typically measured in weeks and not really just days, particularly on a re-aggravation. So this is a sensitive, tricky, reoccurring hamstring issue that Jalen Williams has been dealing with. He did do some more movement, warm-ups before Game 4, and I am told he's progressing, doing a little bit more basketball activity, but we'll see how that factors in tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, Shams, I did think it was interesting that the team changed the designation from hamstring soreness to hamstring strain. It's something that a lot of us wondered, maybe even suspected, but the team actually saying that I do think is interesting. Thank you very much for that insight, Shams. We'll be checking back in with you as we learn maybe a little bit more here. But Brian, knowing that J-Dub is questionable for this game, they already struggled without AJ Mitchell and not being able to take some of that ball handling relief away from Shea. How do you expect that to affect him?
Look, I can answer this question 2 ways. Okay, I can break down how maybe they could have Cason Wallace be a little bit more involved. Cason Wallace has had games in the regular season where he's had more than 10 assists. I could break down where they could maybe put the ball in Alex Caruso's hands a little bit to take away some of the pressure from Shea. But let's be honest. This is Game 5 of a 2-2 playoff series.
Yep.
Shea is an MVP, Finals MVP, 2-time MVP. They need Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to be absolutely great tonight. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a matter of him just forcing it and putting up shots, because you know that the Spurs have really been working on double teaming him and trying to force the ball at his hands. But bottom line, If you want to win multiple championships and you're going to be a great player, you're going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, this is the type of time where you deliver a big-time game. It's got to be Shea tonight.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's also their defense. They got to take care of the ball. Shea has to take care of the ball, limit the turnovers. That's what lost them the game. But if they can get easier offense with their defense, deflections, turning San Antonio over, that's how they won those other games. San Antonio was averaging 21, 22 turnovers a game. If they can get back to that and get some transition baskets where Jared McCain gets some threes, Jalen Williams gets some threes, Casey Wallace, Alex Caruso, it'll help their offense, because without those two other guys giving them some creativity or like creating shots for them, it's going to be very difficult for SGA just to carry that weight by himself offensively.
I think that in order to win a championship, you got to be lucky. You have to have a good matchup. You got to be talented, and you got to be healthy.
Yeah.
You got to have all four of those things. And as great as Shea is, and I know he has a cape somewhere in him, this might just be way too much to overcome. And the way San Antonio is defending him, just with Castle or Fox and Wemby waiting in the back and challenging other guys to do something that are left with two less people on their bench. As great as he is, he's going to have to be like Magic without Kareem in that finals in Boston a long time ago, like that magnificent to get the Spurs, you know,
By himself.
By himself. That's a lot.
I don't put it past him at home with what Shea is able to do. I don't put that type of heroic performance past him. But it is either going to take two more heroic Shea Gilgeous-Alexander performances or two more heroic Victor Wembanyama performances for one of these two teams to get over the hump, and that's going to certainly be thrilling in decisions to make. And look at this, the Cavs, they were outscored by 75 points in the conference finals. That's their worst scoring differential in a series in franchise history. Yeah, they went 8-10 this postseason, the worst record by any team to reach the conference finals since the 1982 Spurs.
It's hard to be outscored by that many points in a 4-game best of 7.
But the questions begin here, Brian, which brings us to our developing story out of Cleveland. And for more, we welcome back in our senior insider, Shams Charania. Shams, what do you got?
Malika, sources tell me that Kenny Atkinson will return as head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers for his 3rd season. His job is safe. Over his first 2 years as coach of the Cavaliers, he's had a franchise best win percentage of over 70%. The end was ugly, though. It was a sweep, 4-0 to the Cavs, or to the Knicks, I should say. But year-over-year growth for the Cavs. 2nd round last season, coach of the year for Kenny Atkinson, the conference finals this year, and he's got the support of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. And this is the first conference finals for the Cavaliers without a LeBron James-led team in 34 years. So there's a lot for the Cavaliers to deconstruct now over the coming days and weeks. I expect the Cavaliers front office to be opportunistic with potential roster upgrades this offseason.
All right, so Kenny Atkinson will be back here as head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Shams, thank you very much for that insight. And Shams did mention it. Yesterday we did hear Donovan Mitchell say that he is in full support here of Kenny Atkinson, who remains the head coach. Let's, though, take a listen to both Don and James Harden after yesterday's game.
I'm sorry for the city of Cleveland for it to be like this in a sweep. Like, that's like, you know what I'm saying? But I told y'all last year, and I'd say again, we'll be back, and we'll be ready, and we'll be hungry, and we'll be locked in.
I think I did pretty good, you know. Like, I don't grade myself off shot making, and, you know, defensively being extremely solid. They dominated us 4-0, but yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily answer that question, just because genuinely I do feel like we are the better team.
So James Harden's comments in particular have gotten a lot of attention from yesterday, in addition to what we just heard, also him talking about his defense and how he felt like he was a very solid defender. Let's parse through what actually matters here the next day, Brian.
Yeah, so look, it's Kenny Atkinson's won almost 120 regular season games the last 2 years. It led to the Cavs, I think, to maybe their 8th conference finals in 56 years of existence. Like, the fact that he would have to be verified to return is an indication of how bad the conference finals went. But okay, now look forward. James Harden holds the key to what happens with this Cavs offseason. Let me explain to you how. He has a $42 million player option. I expect him to waive that player option and enter into a new contract with the Cavs, a multi-year deal that would take that $42 million down a little bit and give him more guaranteed money long term. What that would accomplish is allow the Cavs to move out of the second apron, which would give them the opportunity to potentially do some more business. What would that business be? Well, now here's where it gets complicated because there's several different pathways they could go. Look, the Knicks a year ago made the conference finals, and they said, we believe in this team, and we're going to bring them back, and we're going to ride it again. And look what happened. They're in the finals. The difference was the Knicks team were very impressive in the playoffs last year, upsetting the Boston Celtics. The Cavs were 8-10 in the playoffs this year. So the question is, what do they do? Already this year, when they traded James Harden, 26-year-old Darius Garland for 36-year-old James Harden, they indicated they were willing to more invest in the now. So you ask yourself the question, will they be willing to touch any of their other young core players? Will they be looking at willing to touch Jared Allen? There's a market for him. That contract is a very valuable contract. Will they touch Evan Mobley, Defensive Player of the Year last year, who would be considered untouchable? If they put Evan Mobley on the market, they would be able to get an incredible return for him, and both either a star or potentially other high-quality players. Or will they chase someone in free agency? When I walked off the court yesterday, every Cavs fan I encountered, what about LeBron? What about LeBron? What about LeBron? As of right now, the Cavs are only in position to pay the minimum salary contract. That's $3 million. LeBron made over $50 million this year. He has not given an indication that he is willing to take that kind of drastic pay cut. He's also about to enter into some level of negotiation with the Lakers.
Right.
If there's a time that comes where we find out that LeBron is willing to take that kind of pay cut, then we shall talk about that. But right now, the Cavs are really not in position to even execute a sign-and trade, much less a free agent contract. If LeBron indicates to them, I really, really want to come to Cleveland, then we could see some action. But right now, I think it's wait and see.
All right, so LeBron James, for right now, that's not the conversation that's happening. But the conversation that is going to be happening, if not really having already started to happen, when they traded for James Harden, is it your understanding, Brian, that there was some sort of understanding?
And James was pretty transparent on this last night. He said he's 100% will be back. So, and he will get more guaranteed money, by taking his number down, he'll give the Cavs a little bit of flexibility. And even if they want to keep this roster together, which I frankly don't expect, I expect them to make some significant changes to it. They have some free agents they need to sign, their own free agents. Dean Wade, for example, started the bulk of this playoffs as a free agent. So, but I expect the Cavs to be mulling over. Like, I don't think you will be long before you start to hear Cavs attached to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Would they consider entering that market? You know, if they put Evan Mobley on the table, as hard as that would be, Evan Mobley is in his mid-20s. When they drafted Evan Mobley, they drafted him to be another Giannis. What if they could turn him into Giannis with Harden and Donovan Mitchell on the roster? They have not crossed that bridge yet, but that is something that they may have to consider, especially as we lead up to the draft and the Bucks get serious about listening to offers for Giannis.
Right, because remember, that is what the Milwaukee Bucks ownership has said. They have said that they want to have some sort of understanding of what their path forward is going to be in place by the time the draft rolls around, and that's just a couple of weeks away. Mark, I know you spoke to both James Harden. Yeah. You spoke to Donovan Mitchell. What are they hoping this roster is going to look like a couple of months from now?
Well, Donovan told me this morning that he definitely wants it to be with him on it. He's like, stop the speculation. I want to come back. I'm going to work on getting that next deal. One thing that stood out to me was he woke up this morning saying, damn, what am I doing? What am I doing now? He felt lost. He felt clueless. He was embarrassed, he told me, for being swept. And then he said, I'm getting ready for 19 weeks from now. He had a Mets hat on, obviously connected to his father with the Mets, but it was, like, dang, I got this New York hat on.
Already going back.
And he's flying back today to New York, to the New York City area, where he knows when he walks outside, he's going to see people with Knicks jerseys on. He said, the guy that makes my sandwich is a Knicks fan. The kids at my camps are Knicks fan. He can't hide and get away from it. But Coco Jones, his fiance, she's going to be at the Miami Black Film Festival soon, so maybe he just needs to get away and go to Miami.
Might
But
wanna
his
stay here
first
for a little
stop, no, he's very eager. His house must be amazing.
I guess.
He's eager to go back there and deal with the.
What's harder, dealing with a
crazy.
sweep or being a Mets fan?
Well, I don't think, though, the way that we saw Donovan Mitchell come out of Game 4, I'm not going to pin this squarely on the way that he was playing. Let's get to Game 5 because we got a big one in 7 games. So let's go out to Paycom Center now and check in with our reporters, Tim McMahon covering Oklahoma City, Michael C. Wright covering the San Antonio Spurs for us. Tim, I'm going to start with you. We know that there's no A.J. Mitchell here. We were chatting with Shams earlier, and he said that Jalen Williams is questionable for this game. As we march closer to tip-off, what do we know?
Howdy, Malika. Look, Jalen Williams has been questionable for the last couple games, was ruled out 45 minutes before tip-off. They are now calling it injury management with a hamstring strain and not soreness. But what we know is, with or without Jalen Williams, they cannot let the Spurs punch them in the face right after the opening tip. And that's the description that SGA gave. They punched us in the face early. They're able to respond in Game 3, not in Game 4. And look, when you're talking about the Spurs overwhelming OKC with physicality, that really starts with Stephon Castle on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai has to be able to be the aggressor in that matchup, which absolutely was not the case in Game 4. And then they've got to figure out a way to get Chet Holmgren going. He has been a non-factor offensively in this series. 7.5-foot alien has a little bit to do with that. Chet was 37 of 38 in the restricted area in the first 2 series, 11 of 21 so far in the restricted area in this series. Victor Wembanyama is going to be on the floor. They've got to figure out a way to get some sort of offensive production from Chet Holmgren under those circumstances.
Yeah, so what you're saying is in Game 5 for Oklahoma City, this is where the Stars, they need to show out, even though they may be a little bit shorthanded in this one. On the Spurs side of all of this, Michael, someone not on the injury report for this Game 5, De'Aaron Fox. Even though we saw him miss Game 1, miss Game 2 of this series, is he still dealing with those sort of knick-knack injuries? How's he feeling?
Well, Malika, the kid is actually playing on a leg and a half, basically. You know, like you said, he missed games 1 and 2. And the funny thing is he said, I still feel the same way I felt when I came into this series. And, well, if you felt that way, you felt not well enough to play because he didn't play in games 1 and 2. But De'Aaron understands how much he means to this team. Look, in the 2 games that he missed, the San Antonio Spurs were committing an average of 22 turnovers per game. They were giving up 27.5 points off those turnovers. Then when he comes back for games 3 and 4, the turnovers dropped to 16. Well, actually 14, and the points dropped to 16. So that's almost 11 points, or that is 11 points, and that's a big difference when you're talking about a hotly contested series like this one with 2 evenly matched teams. The funny thing is after Game 4, he actually had a game-high 10 rebounds, and he said, you know, I don't even know how many of those rebounds I actually jumped for. He said there was one point in the game where associate head coach Sean Sweeney was imploring him to use his instincts to get to a rebound. He said, hey, man, my instincts got me there, but the ankle wouldn't let me jump up to go get it. So he's a very important part, and he's playing hurt, but he's fighting his way through it.
You know what? When you talk to players around the league at this point in the postseason, very rarely are you going to come across a guy who says, you know what, this is the time I feel my absolute best. I feel totally healthy and great. De'Aaron Fox knows how important he is to this San Antonio team. And to that point, you have an excellent story up right now, Michael, on ESPN.com about how he became the Spurs closer. I encourage everyone to check that out in the next break here. Gentlemen, thank you. Enjoy tonight's game. We keep using the word pivotal, all important for this Game 5. Here's the numbers behind that. Because in terms of NBA history, teams who win Game 5 in a best-of-7 series, that's all tied up at 2 games apiece, they go on to win the series 82% of the time. So earlier today, the reigning 6th man of the year, Kelvin Johnson, he spoke about the importance of tonight's game.
Yeah, this is the biggest game of the season right here tonight. This game is important. It's 2-2. And, you know, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be tough. But I feel like we built for the moment, and we built for these times, and I feel like we'll show that tonight.
Certainly San Antonio feels like they're coming into this one with momentum. We heard Tim talk about how important Chet Holmgren is.
Yeah.
Danny, the last couple of days I've been hearing you say it needs to be Chet time.
Yeah, I mean, he's all NBA guy, right? We talk about Jalen Duren. He's the same. Like, there's no excuse. This is playoff time. You cannot let your production go down that much. So for him, he just has to be active too. Like I talked about Wemby. He is very much similar to a Wemby. He's not the same character or same stature of Wemby, but he's 7'2", can space the floor, knock down threes, move it out the ball, see when your guy goes to double, space the floor some, give your team an opportunity. Get to the offensive glass. You got to go and be active. So these are the small things that he can make adjustments to. Staying in the dunker, work in the dunker area. These are the minutes you also got to take advantage of. Wemby's off the floor. You got Cornette. So when you see Shea going to the basket, follow behind him. Put yourself in position. Make these finishes at the rim. Dunk the ball. These are small things that he can do, get himself going. Obviously, knocking down a 3 or 2 would help. But he has to be more active. He has to be more aggressive. And he has to look for his shot and help SGA, because a lot is on SGA and his playmaking. Chet has to be the guy.
And that's really, Wendy, what it comes down to. They have to figure out a way to relieve some of this pressure on SGA.
Yeah, they've got to have a bit of a different offensive plan. You know, there are some other guards that they have who can be creators. Cason Wallace had performances this year when A.J. Mitchell and Jalen Williams were out where he filled this exact role. Okay, it wasn't 2-2 in the finals, or in the conference finals, but that's why you have those games and do that. And then you also need to look at potentially other guys on their roster who can handle the ball a little bit, including Alex Caruso. You want to be able to generate a couple of easy baskets, easy looks that can take some pressure off of Chet, and pressure off of Shea, and pressure off of Chet.
One thing I'm excited about these Spurs is they're not supposed to be here. This is supposed to be a learning experience, right? They haven't been in the playoffs since 2019, and the Spurs on their jersey is what is supposed to be intimidating, not them. But talking to R.C. Buford before the series started, he was like, why not us now? And this team is in a position, even as young as they are, even though they haven't taken any lumps and Wemby hasn't been punched in the playoffs, to get to the finals and play the Knicks.
I was going to say, don't tell Wemby that they weren't expected to be here, because I think Victor has had every expectation. I could not be more excited for this game. It's going to bring the heat, so I guess it's time for Heat Check as we stay in this one. Danny, start us off here. It's brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah, I mean, to start the game, it's always been Wemby for me, and certain guys like Jared McCain and others. I got Wemby over 14.5 rebounds. When he's active, and this is a pivotal game, I expect him to be, he's demonstrative, getting his own rebounds and putbacks. He's getting 10, 12 plus for his rebounds. We need a role player night. I know we saw Keldon Johnson talking. We need him to step up. But Julian Champagne's my guy. I think he needs 2 or 3 more threes made. And if he does that, it'll open up the floor for these other guys. And on the other side of it, they're going to double Chet. They're going to double SGA, right? So he's got to find a way to facilitate, and these guys got to make more shots. So if SGA is aggressive like I know he is, he's going to score, but he's going to need his teammates to help him. So he's going to facilitate. He's going to find those guys. I have him over 8 assists for tonight's game as well.
You know what's serious when Danny starts saying we about San Antonio. $10 is going to win you 34 big ones in this one. On DraftKings Sportsbook, all customers can get a profit boost every...
Can shoot, play defense. He's a great team player. He's a joy to watch.
Talking reckless, must be out his mind. X him off the checklist.
The Grim Reaper, Victor! Oh my goodness!
Someone shut him down.
Game 5 is tonight in Oklahoma City, and I know that we cannot wait. We've spent a lot of time, gentlemen, talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but we also know that if the Spurs want to win, it's going to be behind Victor Wembanyama. I have some numbers for you here, Brian, all right? So in the Spurs' 2 wins, he is averaging 37 points, 16 rebounds. In their 2 losses, just over 23 points and 10 rebounds. What version of Victor do they need?
They need one that plays with force. Whether he gets the stats or not, he has to play with force, which I compute going to the basket, young man.
Yeah.
Don't settle for the threes.
Yep, getting close to the basket. Rebounding, getting your own rebounds. To me, he's had to have 10-plus rebounds or 12-plus rebounds. When he's active, it feeds into his teammates, and they get empowered by it.
My boy Chef Andrew Black is cooking a Jamaican meal for the Spurs after the game, and I think it might be a celebratory meal for him.
Okay.
So do you believe that the winner of Game 5, Danny, is going to win this series?
I do, and I'm picking the Spurs. OKC is shorthanded. They have some injuries. That's part of the reason. But I believe in Wemby. I think he's going to shine bright. He's a star. He's going to come out ready to play. He knows how important he is to his group.
Is this game that important to the series? This is going to be the one.
I think it is very important, but I'm just going to say this. The Oklahoma City Thunder are never desperate. Keep that in mind. They're never desperate. They're very, very good.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are never desperate. What a way to contextualize that, Mark.
They play their best with their backs against the wall, but Shai better bring out that cape. He's going to have to be MVP plus tonight.
But all of us agree, there was a moment where we said, yes, the championship is being played out west. I don't think that anyone up here believes
I'm not saying that
anymore. I am not saying that either. I am not saying that either. Hey, enjoy tonight's Game 5. We all got flights.